All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the dramatic, literally minute-by-minute thriller of how the reign of the dinosaurs actually ended. We all know the basic story from when we were kids, right? Giant asteroid hits Earth, poof, dinosaurs are gone. But the actual timeline of how that went down, it is absolutely one of the most fascinating and honestly terrifying sequences of events in our planet's history. It wasn't just, a big boom and then a fade to black. Oh no. It was a complex, multi-stage global apocalypse. Let's get into it.
So picture this. Before the impact, Earth was essentially a giant, lush greenhouse. Teeming with massive life forms, thick vegetation everywhere, warm oceans, just vibrant. To go from that extreme to a freezing, dark wasteland, that requires a catastrophic disruption of the entire global system. So you gotta ask yourself, how exactly does one single rock completely rewrite the climate of an entire planet? Well, let's find out.
Section 1. The day the asteroid hit. The catalyst. Just look at the sheer speed of this disaster. Usually, when we talk about geology or paleontology, we're throwing around terms like millions of years. Evolution is slow. Plate tectonics, super slow. But what we're looking at today, we are literally talking about minutes, hours, and days. The rapid progression from the second of impact to a permanently altered world is it's incredibly staggering to try and wrap your mind around. It took exactly one single massive external event to completely destabilize the planet's entire ecosystem. Just one. An asteroid, roughly the size of Mount Everest, slammed right into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. We aren't talking about a sustained cosmic bombardment over centuries. Nope, just one single rock, moving at hypervelocity. And it completely rewrote the biological script of planet Earth in an absolute instant.
Which brings us to Section 2. Fire and immediate devastation, the immediate aftermath.
Okay, here is the exact, frankly, terrifying sequence of physical devastation that tore across the globe right after the strike. Step 1. Violent shockwaves. The impact triggered earthquakes that were just completely off the charts, literally rippling the Earth's crust and leveling entire forests instantly. Step 2. Global tsunamis. We're talking about ocean waves hundreds of feet high radiating out, wiping out coastal ecosystems in a matter of hours. And Step 3. Extreme heat and firestorms. The kinetic energy released here, it was equivalent to billions, yes, billions of atomic bombs going off all at once. So all that material blasted out of the crater, it was thrown way up high into space, but of course gravity pulled it right back down. And as this massive volume of debris re-entered the atmosphere, the friction superheated the air, the sky literally turned red hot, the atmosphere itself reached temperatures kind of like an industrial pizza oven, baking the surface so drastically that spontaneous wildfires just erupted globally. This was the absolute peak of the violent energy. For a brief time, the Earth temporarily felt like the surface of the sun. Honestly, if you were an animal on the surface anywhere near the impact hemisphere, the sheer radiant heat of those first few hours was completely unsurvivable. Moving on to Section 3. The sky goes dark. A suffocating pause. Now, what's really interesting here is how millions of tons of dirt just hanging in the air became the true weapon of mass extinction. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't just ordinary dirt or dust. It was vaporized rock packed with sulfur, specifically from massive anhydrite deposits in the Yucatan crust. This created a thick, toxic aerosol shield way up high in the stratosphere. So the asteroid didn't just hit the ground and leave a crater. It essentially pulled this massive, impenetrable curtain over the entire globe, completely blocking out the sun's rays. Just let that sink in for a second. The roaring fires begin to die down, but the fast-paced destruction stops only for a chilling, suffocating, pitch-black pause to take over. Imagine the absolute psychological terror of this if you were a dinosaur that somehow managed to survive the initial blast and the fires. The sun just disappears, and it doesn't come back up the next day, or the next week, or even the next month. Without sunlight, photosynthesis, the foundational process of all life on Earth, grinds to a complete halt. Plants wither and die. The herbivores that rely on those plants begin to starve, and the apex carnivores? They're soon to follow. It's just a silent, dark collapse of the entire global food web. Which leads us directly into Section 4, plunging into the Ice Age. The deadly shift. At this point, the Earth's global thermostat was completely broken. We went straight from a planetary inferno, extreme heat and raging firestorms, into a freezing, pitch-black ice age just months later. Seeing how fire rapidly morphed into this inescapable, lethal freeze is just mind-blowing. First, the heat was cranked up to the absolute maximum, and then, completely deprived of solar radiation, global temperatures absolutely plummeted into a deep freeze. So, the asteroid starved the planet of heat and light through this brutal chain reaction. Step 1. Blocked sunlight cuts off the energy source entirely. Step 2. Rapid global freezing takes over. Global average temperatures absolutely cratered. We're talking about drops of 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and this persisted for years. Which leads right into step 3, a lethal ice age. That lush, humid world of the late Cretaceous period, it was instantly replaced by a bitter, dark, and endless winter. It was this blocked sun that triggered the rapid, lethal freeze that ultimately sealed the fate of the dinosaurs. Think about those giant dinosaurs, the massive long necks, the armored tanks like Ankylosaurus, the iconic T-Rex. They were highly adapted to a warm, stable world. They simply didn't have the biological tools to survive a sudden, prolonged dark winter. I mean, they couldn't exactly burrow deep underground, they didn't have thick fur, and they required massive amounts of daily calories that literally no longer existed. So while the asteroid was the trigger, the freeze was the executioner.
Finally, Section 5, Earth's Unlikely Survivors, Inheriting the Earth. The mathematics of a mass extinction are just stark and undeniable. Roughly 75% of all plant and animal species on Earth were completely wiped out, just gone forever. So who made up the tiny 25% that actually survived? Well, it was the small, the adaptable, and the resourceful. Avian dinosaurs, the ancestors of modern birds, who could fly immense distances to find scarce resources. And small mammals, our very own distant ancestors, who could burrow underground, hide from the freezing temperatures, and survive on a diet of insects or decaying matter. In the face of a global freeze, being small was literally the ultimate superpower.
Now, this ancient tragedy reveals the ultimate fragility of our planet today. First, single events can rapidly alter global climate. I mean, we just saw how literally one single day changed millions of years of climate stability. Second, ecosystems are incredibly fragile. Take away sunlight and the entire biological house of cards just completely collapses. And third, only a tiny fraction of life adapted to the dark freeze. It highlights just how specialized life becomes and how incredibly vulnerable we are to rapid environmental shifts. So what does this all mean for us? Could our modern ecosystem survive a sudden global freeze today? If a massive volcanic eruption or, say, another unexpected cosmic impact blocked our sun tomorrow, how resilient is our global food supply? Really, how adaptable are we as a species? Looking back at the last day of the dinosaurs isn't just some dusty history lesson. It is a vital reminder that we live on a dynamic, highly vulnerable planet where the climate dictates the rules of survival. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep exploring the past, and I'll catch you next